Last weekend, I had the opportunity to speak at a TikTok shop event in front of about 100 creators. It was really surreal. I was sharing about the affiliate program and the opportunity that exists right now for people to build something with their voice and their time. Not to make a little bit of extra income, but to create time autonomy and financial freedom that actually changes the trajectory of a family. And as I was talking about this, I kept thinking about something that I've been reading in the scriptures lately, because I've been spending time in Genesis and Exodus, and it made me realize that so much of what we build in life isn't just for us. It's meant to be paid forward to the next generation. One of the most fascinating examples of this is Moses. Now, Moses leads the Israelites out of Egypt, out of literal slavery and towards the promised land. But Moses himself, he never gets to enter the promised land. He spends his life leading people toward a future that he won't personally experience. That's the definition of playing the long game. But what's interesting is what happens to the people that he leads. So after they've been freed from slavery and after God delivers them out of Egypt, they start looking backwards instead of forwards. In Exodus 16, verse 3, the Israelites say, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt." Crazy, right? There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food that we wanted. And then again, we see it in Numbers 14, verse 3 to 4. And they said, "Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword?" Kind of dramatic. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt? Just think about this. It sounds so crazy in retrospect because Egypt represented bondage. Egypt represented oppression. Egypt represented a life where they had no autonomy, no freedom, and zero inheritance. But they wanted to go back. Why? Because I noticed this one thing about us. The unknown is uncomfortable. And freedom, it requires vision. And that is human psychology, because we often prefer the slavery that we understand over the freedom that we cannot yet picture. And that is why so many people keep their vision small. And if you think small, you're going to live a small life. Most people live month to month. They make decisions based on what helps them survive right now. And I understand that mentality because I've been in that space. But we think about survival instead of what might transform the next generation. The people in these scriptures versus the people who build extraordinary lives, they don't think month to month. They think generation to generation. And that requires something most people are not comfortable with: sacrifice. Are you willing to live a life of sacrifice and maybe not even see the full reward of what you're building? Because that's what Moses did. He gave his life to leading people toward a promise that he personally would not enter. Now, everyone wants the mountaintop. That's very clear. Just take a scroll on your phone and you'll find out real quick. But very few people are willing to walk through the valley that leads to it. People are happy to celebrate success once it shows up, right? But you're not always willing to endure the tension that precedes it. They don't see the unseen hours. They don't see the lack of sleep. They don't see the years of pouring into a vision so deeply that sometimes people start to think that you're crazy. They don't see the sacrifice, the leisure that you give up, the comfort that you give up, the normalcy that you give up, because you believe that on the other side of that sacrifice, this sacrifice, that there is something greater than yourself. And that reward, it isn't financial. If you're thinking financially, you're thinking small, because this is generational. And for me personally, I did not come to America just to be mediocre. I have no desire to live a small life. And whenever life tries to make me small, my instinct is to break out of that box, because I believe that there is a fire in my bones and a call from God that cannot be contained or compartmentalized. It reminds me of what Jeremiah said in Jeremiah 20 verse 9. He says, "His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. Because that is how I feel about building something that is greater than me. It's not for ego. It is not for applause, but because I want to do something great with what God has given me. You know, both my husband and I come from immigrant families. His parents were born in Cuba and came to America to build a different life for their family. He is a first-generation American, and I immigrated here about 14 years ago to build a life on the foundation that my parents sacrificed to make possible. So when you come from that kind of history, you understand something, that your life is not just about you, that you are building on the sacrifices of the people that came before you, and you're responsible for building something that blesses the people who come after you. That's the long game. That's the way to do it. That's legacy. Because when you are greatly blessed, the greatest gift that you have is the ability to continue to bless others, to give, to build, to open doors, to change what is possible. Because sometimes, the promised land that you are building towards, it isn't just for you. Sometimes it's for the generations that come after you. And maybe the real question isn't just what are you doing with your life? Maybe the question is, what are you building? What are you willing to sacrifice in the short term that could change the trajectory of generations? Are you thinking month to month? And it's okay if you are right now. Or are you thinking generation to generation? And if God placed an opportunity in front of you, in your hands today, that had the potential to transform not only your life, but the lives of the people who come after you, would you step into it? Or are you holding on so tightly to your comfort and control that you'd rather stay in what is familiar than move into something greater? Those are the questions worth asking yourself. Because the decisions that we make today often become the inheritance of the next generation. And until next time, let's love more, and I'll see you at the next PSA. Ooh, I got a fire in my bones today, but it's only because I'm so passionate about the power of God and how powerfully He moves within each of us. If you enjoyed this message, share it with the first person that comes to mind and the person who needs it the most. We have an entire playlist of messages just like this from Felix and I for you and those in your life. Definitely give them a listen, and we'll see you in the next one.